7 o'clock. Welcome to the regular council meeting on Tuesday, February 13th, 2018. Mayor Waterman is out of town tonight, so I am filling in for him. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock. And I'd like to get an adoption of the minutes as listed. Council, do you have any issues with any of them? No? Okay. Councillor Peak? Councillor Barkwell? All in favor? Good. Carried. Moving on to number 3, a resolution to adopt tonight's agenda. Corporate officer, is there any changes to note?
There are no changes tonight.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt? Councillor Peak? Councillor Boot? All in favor? Carried. We have no public hearings or statutory hearings tonight, and I don't believe we have any delegations on the agenda, so we'll move right into the opportunity for the public to comment. We've got 15 minutes, and the public is welcome to comment on anything that's highlighted in yellow on the agenda. Is there anybody that would like to speak tonight? You have 2 minutes. Seeing no one? Okay, moving along. So next on the agenda, we have the mayor's report, and let's move along past that and on to the CAO's report.
Tonight, with a very hectic week that we had last week, I don't have a report to bring forward. Other than council next week, I'll be away most of the week. Next week I'll be here on Monday, but then I'll be at a CAO forum in Vancouver for the balance of the week. So I'll be here Monday and part of Tuesday. And that will be it for today.
Okay. Moving on to item number 9, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business to report?
No.
No? Okay. Moving on to number 10, correspondence, 10.1, information items. Does anybody from council have anything to bring up? Councillor Peak?
Yeah, I would like to make mention of the letter from the Water Basin Board regarding the invasive mussels. And I wonder if we could send a letter of support for their actions that they are requesting. I think that they have many highlighted portions of that letter that would be important for ourselves as well.
Does anybody else have any comments at all?
Do we need a resolution to that effect?
I would suggest if you want a letter sent, and to be specific what you want it to be.
Councillor Peak, would you like to make a recommendation on that? A resolution?
I will. I'd like to recommend a letter of support regarding the actions that they're requesting and the refinement of the amounts of money out of the $43.8 million that is being budgeted federally to find out how that money is being allocated. I'll make that as a motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Barkwell? Did you get that down? Okay. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you very kindly.
Sorry, can I just ask for clarity? So is the letter also going to the Prime Minister and Ministers, the letter that we're going to be writing?
Yes, I think
Okay,
it should
in
be
support of
copied
this.
to all the
Yep.
parties.
Right.
Does anybody else have anything to bring forward? Okay, can I get a motion to receive the package? Councillor Carlson, Councillor Peak, all in favor? Carried. Moving on to 10.2. Can I get a motion to receive the committee and commission minutes? Councillor Boot, Councillor Barkwell, all in favor? Carried. Good, okay, moving into development service reports, 11.1, Mr. Strachan.
Thank you very much. This is the first variance we have on this evening's agenda. This is for 10805 Harris Road. This particular application is, council has seen this previously. This came to council late last year for a variance to allow for a retaining wall to be taller than the bylaw allows. However, during construction, the structural engineer for safety reasons, has requested the wall be taller, up to 3.65 meters. This is to reduce the slope that is between the top of the wall and Harris Road. They want to bring this wall up and have a gentler slope. There was some concerns from a structural engineer on having that steep slope, as well as some components behind the wall as far as utilities that had to be installed. So they've come back to council to request an amendment to their variance. The features of this one is this is downhill from Harris Road, so you don't actually see the retaining wall from Harris Road. So their driveway and garage is below Harris Road, so it has a minimal impact on adjacent neighbors and properties. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do we get any correspondence in relation to this?
I have not received any.
No, and is the proponent here tonight and would like to speak?
Just to restate, I'm sorry, this is, my name is Sue Pryor. Just to restate that the geotechnical person also stated that for safety reasons it should be this high because it is a very steep slope.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions?
No, you asked for public, if there's anyone in the gallery that'd like to speak.
Oh, okay. Would anybody else in the gallery like to speak to this? No? Okay. Seeing none, council, do you have any questions? Councillor Booth?
Thank you. Mr. Strachan, is it usual for an engineered wall to be increased in size after there already has been a development variance approved?
So the original wall was engineered,
Yes.
and it is common once they get into the ground, especially with an older structure that was there previously, to then identify other things. So in this
Okay.
case, there was electrical lines that needed to be moved, there's more excavation that needed to take place, and quite often they find unsuitable materials behind older walls. So these things do have a transition that sometimes happens. They do their best to do an engineered design that'll work for before they start, but quite often, once they get into the ground, they find other things.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Would someone like to bring the motion forward? Councillor Peak?
I'll bring the amended development variance permit for Lot 2, Plan 402064, to increase the maximum allowable height for retaining wall from the previously approved 2.4 to 3.6 meters be approved.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Boot?
Got a question.
Councillor Councillor Barkwell, I'm sorry.
Yes, my question for the Director of Development Services is, Councillor Booth's question brought to mind a question in my mind about who's there to sort of see, and in this case, determine that, oh, gee, this original wall isn't really going to be sufficient. And what if they'd gone on with the previous wall that really wasn't?
So these structures, because they are engineered structures, are inspected and monitored by the engineer on record. So we get a schedule from them for issuing the building permit, and they do regular inspections to ensure that it's constructed properly. And at the end of the construction, provide us a second schedule that certifies that they inspected its construction and it was done according to plan.
Okay, so then they're there to make sure that it's still, if it's original parameters and if they aren't what they expected, then they'll be making that call.
That's correct.
See. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Now we're ready to vote. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Right, moving on to 11.2.
Thank you, Mayor. The second development variance permit today is for 5502 Steel Street. And this is a variance in order to allow for an accessory building to be constructed in the front yard area. So it's an unusual lot in that it's directly adjacent to a larger parcel. And the way the setbacks work in our zoning bylaw, this becomes part of the front yard area. And an accessory building isn't permitted under the regulation in that area. The applicant has also secured an easement over this gravel driveway from the adjacent property owner to provide access to the accessory building. Thank you, Mayor.
Did we receive any correspondence on this?
No.
None? Okay, is the proponent here and would like to speak?
No comment at this time.
No comment? Okay, anybody else like to speak to this? Okay, council, do you have any questions? Seeing none, would one of you like to bring this forward? Councillor Carlson?
I'll move that development variance permit application for Lot A Plan KP 50942 DL 508 ODYD at 5502 Steel Street to vary zoning bylaw 2000-450 section 4.54 to allow an accessory building in the front yard be approved.
Seconder, Counselor Peak. Any further discussion at all? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Good, moving right along to 11.3.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the third variance on tonight's agenda. It's for 2515 Johnson Street. And this variance application is to reduce the side yard setback in order to allow for an addition onto an existing home. The way the house is sited on the property, the addition would come within 1.5 meters of the adjacent property line. The setback for this particular zoning district is 3 meters, so they've asked for a variance to reduce that setback. As you can note on the air photo, again, we've got a property with adjacent large parcels surrounding it, and its zoning district is a little unusual in that it's country residential. So this is an unusual parcel size, excuse me, for this zoning district. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, did we receive any correspondence for that one?
No, we do not.
None? Okay, is there a proponent here tonight? No? Would anybody else from the gallery like to speak? Okay, hearing none. Counselor Carlson.
I have a question. On the map, it shows a proposed location of new septic field. Why would this house and property need a septic field? Why is it not on sewer?
That's a good question.
See, if it's on Johnson Street on the side of the highway with the sewer,
No,
well,
it's on
both
the other
sides have
side.
sewer.
Sorry,
This is on the other side of the highway.
it's on the west side.
Oh, okay.
I was going to check our sewer servicing, but I don't
Because
believe we have servicing. on
the
that side.
sewer is across the highway, but perhaps it's not
It's
all the way
down
that far down.
It's at Tate Street and not on Johnson.
Okay.
Any further questions? Counselor Peak.
Thank you very kindly. Mr. Strachan, I was wondering if you could just expand a little bit on the legislation and policy in terms of the permit for the proposed structure comply with all aspects of the BC Building Code. And I'd just like to understand a little bit more about this property is located outside of the 10-minute fire response area, which will affect the amount of wall penetration windows on the wall facing the side property line.
So there's two parts to it. So the proposed new addition would require a building permit. That is, as it's being attached to an existing building, there's fire separation requirements that have to be addressed. The particular addition itself would be required to fall under current code. Any modifications required to the existing house in order to connect the two buildings would be required to meet code. But the house itself is not necessarily required to meet all current code. As far as spatial separations, at 1.5 meters, there's a certain allowance. I believe it's approximately 7% for openings on adjacent walls. So they would be permitted under that building permit to have those openings, so windows on that side. Other options are available, so they could look at some form of sprinklering that they utilize. They call it sheet windowing, where they actually have a sprinkler just sprays down on that window to protect the opening. But at 1.5 meters, they are allowed some openings on that side, and that's managed through the building permit process. So they would make a building permit application. As part of the design review, they'll be looking at the proximity to the property line. So they don't look to say there's nothing adjacent to here now. They actually monitor these structures based on adjacency to the property line. So they'll be evaluated based on a 1.5 meter side yard setback if council grants the variance.
Thank you. I very much appreciate understanding that better.
Any further questions? Counselor Boot.
Thank you. Mr. Strachan, could you go back to the aerial view just for a moment, please? So the property line is to the west, I guess, of the orchard that's there. Oh, I think I know exactly where this is. How wide is that? I guess it's an orchard road or something. That's
This?
right there, yeah. I'm just wondering if there will have to be some kind of agricultural barrier put up there. because of the farm that's there, the orchard that's on that side of the building? I can't tell.
The
So
building's on the
this
other
side here is where the addition is going. So what's a bit confusing is the way this was written. They
upside
wrote
down.
their site plan with Johnson Street at the bottom of here. So
Kind of upside down.
if I rotate it, it makes all the
Yeah.
numbers upside down, but it fits with the
Yes.
other drawings.
Got
So
it.
north is actually down on this particular map, which makes it
Right.
a little bit confusing.
Yeah,
But when
yeah.
I throw it in upside down, and I almost did, just to
Thank
make
you.
it simpler for referencing,
Yes.
all the letters are all upside down. It didn't look right, I just couldn't
Yes.
manage to do that. So,
Okay.
normally you would always have north to the top.
Yes,
but this
having done
particular-
plans,
yeah.
I always think that it's done that way, but that's good, thank you. That clarifies that completely.
Counselor Peak.
I'd like to commend the family that have the property that they're doing. They've taken into consideration the heritage values of their home as well. I think that's excellent.
Any further questions? Okay, would someone like to bring this forward? Counselor Barkwell,
I'll move the motion as written in the agenda.
as written. Can I get a seconder? Counselor Boot? Any further discussion? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried. Good, moving on to 11.4.
Thank you, Mayor. So the fourth variance is for 4998 Weldon Avenue. This particular variance is to reduce an exterior side yard setback from 4.5 meters to 3 meters. And this is to allow for a home to be built. And this is probably one of the more unusual properties we have here in Summerland, and that the actual boundary for this property has a very irregular shape. So in order to get the area required in the zoning bylaw, they had to do this quite unusual shape, and it ended up with this truncation of a cul-de-sac. So when this neighborhood was originally designed, so when these older homes, when that subdivision was done, you can see how the cul-de-sac would have bulbed, and you can see the neck of the cul-de-sac. When this new subdivision came in, if that cul-de-sac had been constructed, they would have lost 1 or 2 lots. So they put a different cul-de-sac shape in there, however, never corrected this neck that sits in the back. So the way our bylaw is written, unfortunately, this becomes an exterior side yard, creating a setback from it that affects the corner of this garage. And as you can see, it's an unusual shaped lot, so it really impacts the buildable area on the property. So they've asked for a variance to reduce this from what's required at 4.5 meters to 3 meters, and it affects this corner of the garage. Without the requested variance, they would have to set this back another 1.5 meters, create a notch, which would impact the garage. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Is there any correspondence on this?
No, there's none.
No, okay, and are the proponents here tonight? Would you like to speak at all?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, anybody else like to speak at all from the gallery? Okay, seeing none, council, do you have any questions? This one's pretty straightforward. Would someone like to bring it forward? Councillor Carlson?
I will move 11.4 as presented in the agenda.
Okay, a seconder? Councillor Peak? Any further discussion?
Just for clarity, that's to approve this DVP application.
All right, all in favor? None opposed? Carried. All right, moving on to 11.5.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a rezoning application, and council's receiving this for consideration of approval to proceed. So rezoning applications are coming to council initially without the bylaws at this point in time, to allow council to receive an application and then approve it to proceed instead of being requested to receive readings of it. So at the next council meeting, if this is approved to move forward, there would be a further report that would come to council and ask for consideration of readings of the bylaw as well as ask for a public hearing to be scheduled.
Just a note, council, this is the manner in which our procedures bylaw suggests that we do it, rather than bringing first and second reading to you before you've had a chance to consider the application. And as you know, there was some discussion when Banks Crescent originally came forward, and it would have been better to come forward. And from now on, the actual resolution won't say be approved to proceed, but it'll direct staff to prepare the bylaws for consideration. So that's actually probably, instead of the recommendation should say, instead of saying be approved to proceed, should say, and that staff be directed to prepare bylaws for consideration.
So when would this come back to council?
Well, if council is interested in looking at the application further, we would, Development Services and whatever other departments would start working on it. And if it's a straightforward one, it would be the very next meeting. If it was a more complex one, it could be longer.
Okay. So I assume we don't have any correspondence on this then yet?
No.
Okay. So the proponent would come forward then at a later time?
Well, it's a
likely?
rezoning, so you would get the applications. It's not a development variance permit, so it's a rezone. So we would bring all the information, and then if it was something you were interested in, after you passed first and second, you would schedule a public hearing.
Okay.
And then you would go through the usual. It's just one more step before it comes to first reading.
Okay. Council, do you have any further questions at all? Would somebody like to bring this forward? Councillor Barkwell?
Yes, I'll bring the motion forward as written in the agenda with the revisions as presented by the CAO, that the staff be directed to proceed.
To bring the, to prepare the bylaws for council's consideration. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Peak? Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Boot?
No,
Oh, you were just voting. Okay,
I was
okay.
just going to comment that it seems to really fit all the criteria, and it's well worth considering.
Mhm. Good. Okay, this time, all in favor? Seeing none opposed, it's carried. Okay, moving on to item 12.1, non-medical cannabis update. CAO, are you taking that one?
Yeah, yes, thank you. This information, council, is included in the agenda strictly for information. As we all know, council has asked staff to do some extensive research on the legalization of marijuana. There's sort of two streams of it. One is the production of cannabis, and one is the sales of cannabis. Council has indicated in the past that as part of this process, you'll also want to do citizen engagement. So we're expecting at either the next, probably not the next council meeting, but probably the next one after that, that we'll bring a plan forward to council and give more information. So this is strictly today to show what kind of information is coming out there on this subject, but we will give a better report and expect council's discussion at that time.
Do you have any questions at all? Councillor Peak?
Not really a question, but it obviously then lets the public know that it's in our domain and that we're continuing with our information. We know that we've all attended various things at some of the conferences we've gone to, and we're keeping abreast of. So this is just letting the public know that we're working it forward.
Anybody else at all? No? Okay, would someone like to bring forward the motion? Councillor Peak?
That the report dated February 7th, 2018 regarding non-medical cannabis update, retailing licensing be received for information.
Okay, and a seconder, please. Councillor Boot. Any further discussion at all? I just have one further question, actually, to the CAO. So would we start some kind of public consultation likely this summer?
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. I think it would probably start before the summer.
Okay.
I think once we bring a plan to council at the next time it comes, hopefully it would start right after that, because we need to get moving on it in the different varied ones. We're just doing some research on what's working in some other communities so that we can bring a good plan forward.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Do we not have to have our local rules and regulations in by July 1st for the legalization?
For there's certain components of it, so that's what we're gonna bring to council, what kind of timelines that we're on, and there is some expectation that there's gonna be a delay in parts of it or all of it, so that's what will be in the report, is a very clear idea of timelines. You can imagine that at my CAO forum next week, a large part of what we're talking about is legalization of cannabis.
Okay, Councillor Peak.
Yes, I'm wondering what kind of detail, and I know that it'll come in our report, but what kind of detail we'll have available for the public to do that review. So that's something that I'd like to put out there for our staff to know.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I mean, the material that we put forward and how they, there's just so much out there, facts and rumors and, non-truths and whatever. So we need to be able to distill it in a manner that's understandable,
Yes.
so that they can make informed decisions. So, yeah, point taken.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we had a motion and we had a seconder, so all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, carried. Okay, moving on to 12.2, Bike to Work and School
We'll
Week.
send that over to Mr. Rothery.
Thank you, Mayor. As noted in the report in your package, staff are recommending that the Bike to School and Work Week event become administered by the district, or I should say become administered by the district. In the past, it was something that the district oversaw, and as noted, when the previous Climate Action Committee was dissolved, members of the community took up the cause and carried on with administering the event. However, this year, those individuals have identified to staff that for a variety of personal reasons, they're no longer able to continue that work and are asking if the district can retake over the administration of the event. As noted in your package, staff feel it's very much within our capabilities to do so, particularly because we'll still be relying quite heavily on community involvement and volunteerism. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I also believe that at least one previous member of the committee is here in the gallery if you have any questions for them as well.
As Tammy mentioned, a key component is we're really looking at facilitating it. We're really looking at keeping it a volunteer-driven program, just really taking on the facilitation to assist getting it going. I think that's a really important point.
Absolutely.
I have a question. I noticed in the report that you applied for the grant for $1,000 and that part of that would be set aside for an honorarium for the volunteer coordinator. Who will be choosing that volunteer coordinator?
That's a good question.
I think we haven't talked about those details, but it will follow whatever internal processes we would typically follow. But if it's taken on by the district, it would likely be the staff that's coordinating it.
Okay. Well, I've been part of this committee for a while, and I really enjoy doing it. And it just happens that I'm having a baby around that time, so I have to take this year off. But I'm looking forward to helping out again next year for sure. So, does anybody else have any comments or questions at this time?
I'll bring the motion forward.
Okay.
That the staff be directed to oversee the annual Bike to Work and School Week event in Summerland.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Carlson? Any other discussion at all? Okay. Councillor Peak?
I'd like to say that I'm really pleased that the community is still interested in doing it, and I certainly understand the opportunity for staff to work with that.
I did put out a call on our Facebook page to ask if any further volunteers in the committee would like to come forward, and I did get a list of names, so I'll pass that along if I haven't already. So I think it's good to get some new people involved. It's a really fun event, and I think it's definitely worthwhile. So, yeah, thank you for doing this. Okay, seeing no further discussion then, all in favor? Okay, none opposed, carried. Okay, moving on to 12.3.
Thank you, Mayor. As noted in your package, the RFP for the streetlight LED retrofit project closed, and we had a number of submissions which staff reviewed and scored and went through our normal RFP process. And because the award amount is over $100,000, it has to come to council for your consideration. And that's why we're here.
Okay, council, do you have any questions? Councillor Barkwell.
So, when I read this report, I think I understood that this contract for administrating this project is $250,000, and then the lights themselves are going to be $250,000, is that?
Approximately,
Yeah.
yes.
And you use the word luminaires? Luminaires?
Yeah, it's the industry term for the actual lamp.
Is that specific to LED lights or just any kind of a lamp?
Any kind of lamp is
yeah.
my understanding
Oh.
for streetlights, yes.
Yeah.
It's not very common anywhere else. Okay, so, yeah, well, I just was more concerned about so it's materials and administration, and so they have some materials, but there's a lot of work involved. Is this the physical going up there and changing the lights and stuff, part of it?
So to be clear, this part of the contract is a number of pieces of the overall scope.
Mhm.
So it's inventorying or verifying our inventory of current lights and putting that into a GIS compatible format so that we have that information at our fingertips going forward. It's creating a design for the lights to go in. So in some communities, what they've done is they've said, we have a 100-watt HPS light now, and the LED equivalent is, say, 60 watts. They may not be exactly accurate, but, and they've just swapped it out without considering, was the 100-watt that was there in the first place actually the appropriate amount of light for that? So we've researched a number of other communities who've gone through similar retrofit, and overwhelmingly the feedback has been you should have a proper design done rather than doing that one for one. And so this will include the design to show which lights should go at which pole. It will also be overseeing the installation of the lights themselves and helping us with the selection of which manufacturer we choose to procure the lights through. So because part of the scope is to select the manufacturer and then create the materials list for the luminaires themselves, that's not included here. But some of the work that they'll be doing through the relamping is we're having them put in brand new fuses, fuse holders, wires, and photocells. So essentially the entire lamp, other than the pole itself, will be brand new. So we'll be starting from that place going forward. And so some of those materials, the fuses and wiring, are included in this price, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So is this $570,000 going to cover all the streetlights in Summerland?
So this will cover what are called Cobra head lights. So those are sort of the traditional, what you think of as a street light.
Right.
This will not cover what are called decorative lights. So those are the gas light style lamps that are downtown, for example.
Mhm.
That's not covered here. Those are a much more expensive proposition that we may bring forward at another time, but that's not covered within this project.
And this is within the budget within the scope that we've.
And the actual work of, somebody up in a cherry picker changing the lights and stuff, that's going to be in this 570,000?
Yes.
No?
Councillor Peak.
Yes, so my question was about the geographic area that's covered, but you're saying it's all the Cobra lights within our urban area.
That's right. And also there are what are called dusk to dawn lights, which are similar to Cobra heads, and those will be converted to Cobra heads. So essentially all non-decorative lights will be getting changed.
Okay, and if I may, the time frame for this work getting done?
I can tell you the proposed timeline, I believe, I want to say is the end of August, but I'll just confirm that for you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yes, the proponent's proposed schedule is the end of July, but that was assuming a start date of this week, so push it 1 week into August.
So they'll actually do the work in August?
Everything will be done. It'll be commissioned, completed 100% according to their schedule. Their proposed schedule is let's say, the first week of August.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. My other question is, how many companies do we have bid on this?
4.
And it may have been in there, but I sometimes don't remember after reading it.
Not a problem.
Thank you very kindly for that clarification.
Okay, Councillor Barkwell.
And so what happens to all the old lights?
It's part of or was part of the scope of the RFP that the proponents are responsible for providing us with a disposal plan that includes the maximum amount of recycling of materials possible. They've suggested that in other communities that they've worked in, that they've hooked up with organizations that employ persons with developmental disabilities and that type of thing, and that they'd be looking for a similar opportunity, if one exists in the Okanagan, to do that work.
Councillor Peak.
I'll bring the item forward.
Okay.
That the Real Term Energy be identified as the preferred proponent for the implementation of the streetlight LED retrofit project, and that staff be authorized to finalize negotiations and execute the contract for services.
May you have a seconder? Councillor Carlson. All right, any further discussion at all? Okay, seeing none. All in favor? None opposed? Carried. Moving on to new business, I don't believe we had any tonight. Okay, don't have any bylaws coming forward. All right, on to councillor reports. So starting with Councillor Barkwell.
Attended the public hearings for Banks Crescent. But other than that, I have nothing to report this 2-week period.
Okay, Councillor Boot.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to thank Councillor Barkwell for sitting in for me at the last RDOS meeting. We have another one this next Thursday. I will be attending the Chamber of Commerce as liaison meeting tomorrow. And that's about it. Thank you.
And I don't have anything to report, but I was just reminded when you talked about the chamber that there's 1 week left to vote for your favorite business and community member as well.
Right.
There's a couple categories that's open to everybody in Summerland. And then if you're a business member, you can vote for your favorite businesses. And I believe that closes on the 25th. Yes. All right, moving on to Councillor Carlson.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Councillor Peak.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the nominee reception. That was a wonderful reception, and it's a nice opportunity to see the people that are actually nominated, not just those that will get awarded. We also attended, and there were several of us that did this, the affordable housing meeting that was put on by the Chamber of Commerce, and that was well received by the community. I have to commend all the projects that are coming forward, and I thought the discussion was excellent. I attended the Heritage Advisory meeting, and I make note that in their draft minutes for the Heritage Advisory Commission, they requested to be consulted as part of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And as per the Parks and Recreation Commission minutes of January the 11th, I make note of the fact that there's a 5-week review period, and I would hope that the Advisory Commission will have an opportunity to be included in that. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to public comment. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to say tonight? We've got 2 minutes per person.
Good evening, Council. First of all, I just wanted to thank you all for the long, drawn-out process we all know as Banks Crescent. Thank you for your attention, consideration, and very careful consideration. And certainly, I'm sure you're all aware of what my position is, and thank you for, I believe, making the right decision for Summerland going forward. The other thing I would just like to address was that there was quite a point made at the council meeting following the public hearing about council not passing a resolution to address the hatchery's concerns first prior to proceeding with all that information. I personally did put that forward as certainly something that I was concerned about, that council didn't follow through on the resolution. I was at that meeting in January of 2017. I listened to all the comments and all of the dialogue. I have also watched that actual meeting to just recapture what the dialogue was there. And I'd like to clarify that although the written words of the resolution didn't have the exact words for staff to address all of the hatchery concerns first prior to proceeding with all the rest of the information, the discussion was clearly that was the intent. Several councillors and the mayor commented that they wanted to address that first prior to proceeding with engaging staff and expending all of that level of effort if those issues couldn't be addressed. It was even further asked when that resolution was put forward if the resolution needed to be rejigged to reflect the conversation, and the answer was no, that it said that staff would report back and council could then move directly to a public hearing or could then go to third reading after the public hearing and make their decision to stop the process then. I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't making statements that were in conflict with what was actually discussed. Thank you for your attention.
Could you perhaps list your name and address?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. My name is Sandy Paulson, 6502 Solly Road. Sorry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sandy. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, do we have any questions from the media at all?
James Miller, Valley Editor, Okanagan Newspaper Group, Managing Editor, Kelowna Daily Courier, Correspondent and Contributor to the Canadian Press, Advisor, the Penticton Herald. I didn't see it on the agenda, but seeing that Banks Crescent was mentioned twice, I would like to ask Ms. Tynan through the chair, please. Does the District of Summerland time track its employees?
No.
No. Okay. So, just educated guess. How many hours of staff time and expense would you estimate was spent on the Banks Crescent project over the past 2 years?
You know, I can't even give an estimate at this point, but it is something that we were actually just talking about this morning, and we were going to talk about a little bit more at our next upcoming management meeting. And I truly can't fathom a number, but it's large.
Do you anticipate having a number at a later date?
Again, I suppose if we wanted to take the time, I think it's more important to determine whether we want to implement some procedures to be tracking and looking forward in the future than spending too much time. Of course, we had quite a bit of staff turnover in that 22 months, so it's difficult even to know, even to quantify, for example, how much time Mr. McIntosh spent on it when he was in Mr. Strachan's role, et cetera. So if council directed us to do it, I would suggest, obviously, we would do it. It hasn't, it's more that we want to figure out what to suggest to council we do moving forward. That probably doesn't answer your question, but at this point in time, unless council directs me to do so, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going back and tracking, because it would even be more time.
But would it be fair comment to look at a number, maybe not for the sake of this specific project, but for future projects or future bids, to think that this is the amount of, because obviously if staff was spending, let's say, 100 hours on this, that's 100 hours they weren't doing something else. So would it be fair comment to think that maybe by offering some kind of educated figure that could help down the road with other projects?
No, absolutely, and I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that in our discussions, especially through development services, where it's definitely the bulk of it, the rest of us, we could probably guess at, a number, but that wouldn't be that much different than other projects that we work on. But development services, I think it is important for them to have an idea, and for council to know as we move along, when new things come along, when they're deciding whether or not to stop it at the time, earlier on in the process, or if they're weighing out the value of moving forward or not. I mean, one can argue that this council listened and went through a really due process, and it might have been worth the number of hours in their
Sure.
mind, but
Definitely. And obviously, each case is different.
right. So internally, we certainly will be trying to get a good idea ourselves. How formal we get and how much time we spend on it would be up to council if they wanted us to do more direction. But as far as us and how we do track our time, and if we do, that's probably where we'll make some changes. And there's new mechanisms that we can track a lot easier, and I think that would be worth it.
Sure. One final question for you, Ms. Tynan, would be, has anything been pushed back substantially because of all the time and effort that went into Banks Crescent?
I think that the development services, I think all of the staff coped very well, and I don't think things necessarily got pushed back. I think that personally, as a CAO, I think what happened was that we got a lot of stress on the employees who put in, our senior management team don't get paid overtime, and I know how much overtime has been put in to make sure those other things didn't get pushed back, and that's a concern in keeping our staff and in moving forward, and certainly couldn't be sustained any longer.
Do you do time in lieu?
But no more time in lieu. So we don't track our time,
Sure.
so the time in lieu that they get is basically the same as if it was the time we put in for council meetings and regular meetings.
Okay, and one final question, that's an individual question, again, through the chair, to Councillor Barkwell. Having watched, albeit from afar, but I have followed this council very closely, over the 2 years, you appeared to be, I would describe as a soft yes towards voting in favor. And then on Tuesday night, you had said at 5:45 you changed your mind. Perhaps are you like Scrooge McDuck in that you've had some kind of epiphany or some change of heart, or what was ultimately, personally for you, the determining factor?
I wouldn't say that I changed my mind. I made up my mind that late in the process after listening to everybody speak and considering all the numerous objections people had and numerous reasons to support it. The fishery, and if you go back and review the tape, I think I managed to say how I felt about pretty near every issue. And so I don't know who Scrooge McDuck is, but that's my story.
It's a Disney character, okay. All right. And Councillor Carlson, I guess as the acting mayor, do you believe... Oh,
Trainer.
Sorry, I was laughing at my Disney reference. Deputy Mayor, do you believe that the community will be successful in moving on, and that it's an issue which maybe was a bit divisive, but are you confident in being able to get down to other things for the next, I guess,
Absolutely,
year?
I think so. I think that this is something that we needed to go through. We haven't been through it in a long time, and so I'm hoping that there's a lot of lessons learned from it. And I know I learned a ton, and I think council did, and we got a lot of public engagement, from all sides. I don't think this is something we want to do again anytime soon, but I think every so often, this needs to happen, and it reminds people that we all live in a democracy, and I definitely think that we'll all come back together, because we all want what's best for Summerland, and we have different visions, but I think we all have to live here and live together, so.
Thank you, Councillor Trainer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further comments at all? I think this is the shortest meeting we've had in a long time. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Councillor Peak? Councillor Barkwell? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.